What's up, guys? It's your favorite Q coach. Welcome to part 2 of Bryson DeChambeau's golf swing analysis. This video, we're actually going to be analyzing his golf swing, so let's go do this thing. So welcome back to the channel, guys. If you guys are new to Kiwi Golf Japan, we do a bunch of videos like this every single week. So what you gotta go do is hit that little red subscribe button, smash the like button, leave a comment, share this video. It really does help. And let's hop into the first part of this video. So let's hop into the first part of this video, guys. We got Bryson DeChambeau with driver. We got the face-on view. We got the down-the-line view. We're going to be using both of these views in this video to kind of discuss some components in his golf swing that are helping him with a certain miss. Now, if you guys haven't watched the first part of this video, there'll be a link in the description below. Go check that out. It was really about strokes gained and kind of showing Bryson DeChambeau's history on the PGA Tour, how he started out from kind of like a mid-level PGA Tour player. And then within the span of about 4 to 6 months, he went all the way down into a top 10 player in the world. And in that video, we talked about a secret, let's call it a secret move that he used that he says helped him get to that. So in this video, we're going to expand on that thought, as well as just show you guys some components and just hopefully give you guys some value here. So let's go hop into the face-on and let's start with the grip. So if you guys don't know Bryson DeChambeau, a lot of what he's doing in his golf swing is helping him with a certain miss. And that miss for him was a shot that drew too much to the left. He struggled with it, kind of like Ben Hogan almost. Actually, there's definitely some similarities between Bryson DeChambeau and Ben Hogan, which might even be a separate video in itself. But he did a lot of stuff in his swing, for example, right now, the grip, that helps him with the left miss. So the first thing is he got his left hand in a very, very weak position. And when I say weak, really it's placement of the hand. If you take a look at the V's, his left hand grip or his lead hand grip is pointing up towards the trail or the lead shoulder, excuse me. And that's a really weak placement. Now, let's kind of talk about what weak placement really means. If you get your hand in kind of the same position that DeChambeau is in, and you try to supinate, you notice that you can supinate a little bit, but there's not like a whole large range of motion relative to if I had my wrist in a very, let's call it strong position or a position that looked like this. You can see that there's a huge range of motion. So this position, less range of motion than this position. Now, if you take a golf club and you put it in your hands and you do this and you churn it, you can see that you can churn the toe of the club maybe a little bit closed. But if you put it here and then you close it, you can see that you can massively churn the toe over, right? And so for a player that hits a hook, what typically happens is we see this face angle pointing left of where the club path is, right? So what DeChambeau was trying to do is he's trying to put himself in a position with that weak grip to make sure that he had a, let's just say, a smaller possibility of pointing that face left. So first component of his golf swing that's helping him not miss the ball to the left is going to be the left hand and the right hand grip. They're both in pretty weak positions. Okay, so let's get into the magic move, guys, and let's talk about his setup. I think a lot of you guys, well, I don't know if a lot of you guys say this, but I've heard instructors on YouTube saying that this is kind of his magic move. Let's just real quickly go over it. So Bryson DeChambeau, his setup is very unique just because of his wrist conditions at setup. He's in a heavily ulnar deviated position. Now, all players are ulnar deviated at setup, which just means that the wrist is this fashion as opposed to kind of cocking the wrist or getting a radial deviation. But he is doing it more so than most players do, and he's almost pretty much hyperextended in this wrist. It's fully locked almost. Now, what is that really doing? Well, if you take a club real quick, and I want you to ulnar deviate your wrist to the max that you possibly can, and then take a look at what it does to the face angle. What it does is it kind of makes the club go this way, which then points the face angle a little bit more to the right. Now, if you can understand what we just said in the last part, if we get the face angle close to the club path, we're probably going to hit the draw. Doing this points the face angle more right. It's going to have a better potential of not drawing, right? So again, he has his grip that's super weak. And then so far at setup, he also has a heavily ulnar deviated wrist, which is another component, which is, again, helping him not miss the ball to the left. So is it his magic move? You could probably call it. I would always say my personal belief is setup is a correlator for sure. When I say correlator, it means that it definitely would correlate to impact. Now, the percentage of correlation, I think, is really relative to the individual. Like, you'll find that some players, when you change their setups, usually the better players, you're going to see that the ball flight can start to change. But I've noticed in my lessons personally, the intermediate golfers to kind of the beginner golfers, typically when you change the setup, yes, will it change path numbers sometimes? Yes, absolutely. but it's not 100% correlation because there's still a good amount of students that if you do change their setup, they still have the same swing patterns and they get pretty similar numbers, right? So again, when you're thinking about changing your setup, guys out there, just think about it. It is a correlator, but it's not a 100% correlator. If you're a better player, you're probably going to see more of a correlation than you would if you're maybe a beginner golfer. So that's kind of my little spiel on that. Let's go hop into the magic move that I think he's doing that's helping him get rid of that left miss, and it's what we talked about in the first video. So if we take a look at kind of his backswing, what I want to go down to is right around impact and talk about kind of his lead elbow, and we're going to stop it here. So we're going to zoom in. Now, on a 2D view, it's obviously really hard to see this. The best camera angle would kind of be this way if he was swinging, so you could kind of see what the elbow is doing. But this is what he talked about in a recent interview that he did with the Swing Expedition, which if you guys haven't heard about the Swing Expedition, it's a video series with Chris Como on the Golf Channel. He goes around and interviews like golf instructors as well as professional golfers, and they just talk about what they're doing with their swing theories or what they're doing with their swing to help their games, essentially, right? I think it's a great show. You guys should definitely check it out. But in this episode with Bryson DeChambeau, what he talked about was he talked about how he was trying to get this lead elbow internally rotated like this. So this is internal rotation. This would be external rotation. So he was trying to get the elbow a little bit more this way. Now, what that does for him is it makes it harder for him to point that club face left. And let me kind of break this down for you. So I want you guys to take a club real quick. I want you guys to swing down impact, but I want you to keep this elbow pointing, let's say, parallel left to the target, but make sure that it's internally rotated like this and that you don't have it this way. Now, once you come into impact, I also want you to try to supinate, right? And you're going to find that if you keep that elbow internally rotated, it's very hard to over supinate, right? Just because of the fashion that the elbow is in. Your forearm right here and your wrists are connected to this elbow, so again, you can only supinate so far. And if I'm this way, you're going to find that it's really hard to point that face to the left, right? So this is what he quoted, Bryson DeChambeau specifically quoted as being his magic move, and what caused him from becoming, I think he was like top 100 player in the world, all the way down into the top 10 again, what did I say, in about 4 months or whatever it was. So this is kind of the magic move he's talking about. Now, this is, to me, as a golf instructor, very, very interesting. I totally get how this could help him. And I know why he's doing that, again, because it's trying to get rid of that left miss. But to me, it kind of reminds me a little bit almost of kind of a Ben Hogan. Remember Ben Hogan, guys, back in the day? When he first came out on tour, he struggled with a massive hook. It just derailed his confidence completely. He went, I don't know how many years, but he went a long period of time before Ben Hogan actually won his first tournament. And when he started winning his first few tournaments, he was coming up with swing ideas to help him get rid of the hook, which for him, Ben Hogan did it by, same thing, weak grip, but Hogan had a lot more pronation in the lead wrist on the backswing, as well as a lot more cupping and extension in this lead wrist as well. And that was kind of how Hogan did it, as well as Hogan also kind of was moving the body maybe slightly different as well. But that's kind of how Hogan overcame his hook. So you could kind of call Bryson DeChambeau maybe the modern day Ben Hogan, where he's really trying to focus on using his understanding of biomechanics and putting himself into positions where it's going to be less likely for him to get that face close to the path. So as me as a golf instructor, I find it very, very interesting. Hopefully you guys find it interesting as well. And that's pretty much all I want to talk about with his golf swing. I know a lot of people, he's kind of known for his one plane swing. That might be another video in itself. I personally don't believe he has a one plane swing. I think the one plane swing idea is pretty old and outdated, and has been proven to kind of not be true, especially when you start looking at swings in 3D, etc. But we'll not talk about that in this video. I really want to wrap this video up with kind of some take-home points for you guys. So for you, the audience out there that's watching this, what are the take-home points? Really, I think the macro idea of what Bryson DeChambeau does so well is he takes swing components, which are just how the body moves in the golf swing. He moves the body in different ways to help him with a miss. And I think that's really the macro point for you guys at home who are watching this. If you can kind of take what miss you currently have and start thinking about how I can move the body differently to get rid of that miss, I think that's really a great starting point for you at home to start self-correcting your guys' golf swings. And then from there, I think that'll lead you into a lot of great YouTube video content that's completely free. You don't need a lesson to find. That will really help you with your golf swings. So I want you guys to start thinking about it in that way. Think about your miss first, and then from there, start thinking about how can I move my body differently to get rid of that miss. And that's really the macro point, and that's really what Bryson DeChambeau, I think, did so well so far. And I'd be really interested to see kind of how his swing theory and how his kind of swing ideas really grow and kind of just change throughout the years. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys again next time.